In 2150, Earth thrived as a bustling hub of interstellar commerce. Sprawling cities adorned with neon lights stretched across continents, while advanced spacecraft traversed the skies like shooting stars. But this newfound prosperity masked an insidious threat lurking in the shadows. The Xelthar Empire, a formidable alien race known for their ruthless conquests, had set their sights on Earth, eager to harness its resources and subjugate its inhabitants. As the first warning alarms echoed through the outer reaches of the solar system, panic rippled across the planet. Commander Alara Quinn paced the dimly lit command room of an abandoned lunar base, her brow furrowed with concern. Once a celebrated military strategist, she now found herself at the helm of a diverse coalition of resistance fighters. Men and women from all walks of life had gathered, each carrying their own stories of loss and defiance. The atmosphere crackled with tension as they faced the enormity of the threat ahead. "We can't wait for the Xelthar to reach Earth. We have to strike first," insisted Captain Rylan Torres, a hot-headed pilot known for his daring maneuvers in the cockpit. He slammed his fist against the table, drawing the attention of the group. "If we hit their supply lines now, we can weaken their advance." "Rylan, you're suggesting we rush into a fight without knowing their full capabilities," countered Dr. Meera Patel, a brilliant scientist whose research on alien technology had gained her a reputation. "We need intelligence first. We can't afford to lose lives in a reckless assault." Alara watched the heated exchange, feeling the weight of responsibility bearing down on her. Her instincts urged her to act decisively, but she knew the importance of a united front. "We need a plan," she interjected, her voice steady but firm. "Let's focus on gathering intel about their movements. We have a contact on the outer colonies who might provide valuable information." Just as Alara sought to steer the discussion back on track, a sudden alarm blared through the base, echoing off the cold metal walls. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a distress signal emanating from the nearby colony of New Eden. Images of panic and destruction filled the screen as Xelthar forces descended upon the unsuspecting settlers. The room fell silent, the gravity of the situation dawning on everyone. "We can't leave them to fend for themselves," Alara said, her heart pounding. "This is our chance to make a statement. If we don't act now, we might lose not just New Eden, but all of Earth." Murmurs of agreement spread through the room. The prospect of immediate action electrified the atmosphere. A plan began to take shape, each member contributing their expertise. They would launch a stealth mission to extract the settlers before the Xelthar could consolidate their hold on the colony. As they prepared for the rescue, Alara felt a flicker of hope. This was the moment to rally her people, to show them that they were not helpless. With determination ignited in her heart, she led her team into the depths of the lunar base, where an old fleet of ships lay dormant. They had little time to waste. Every second counted, and as Alara strapped into the pilot's seat of the lead ship, she knew this mission could define humanity's fate. The engines roared to life, and they soared into the void, the Earth's blue glow fading behind them. The stars ahead sparkled with potential, a reminder that even in the face of impending doom, humanity's spirit burned brightly. As the Earth Defense Alliance fleet approached New Eden, tension crackled in the cockpit. Commander Alara Quinn gripped the controls, her mind racing through potential scenarios. They had received scan information about the Xelthar forces on the ground, and the rescue mission felt like a plunge into the unknown. The faces of her crew reflected a mix of determination and fear, but they all shared the same resolve, to save their people. The barren landscape of New Eden came into view, marred by streaks of smoke and the telltale glow of alien weaponry. Alara's heart sank as she saw the Xelthar's ominous ships hovering above, their dark silhouettes blocking out the sun. The once thriving colony was now under siege. She took a deep breath, trying to steady her racing heart. "We need to get down there and extract as many civilians as possible," she instructed. Rylan, coordinate with the ground team and identify potential landing zones. Rallan's fingers danced over the controls, his focus laser-sharp. Got it, Alara. I'll scan for any open areas near the outskirts of the colony. We should avoid direct confrontation as much as possible. As they descended, a series of explosions erupted in the distance, shaking their ship violently. Alarms blared, and the cockpit lights flickered ominously. Rallan's voice broke through the chaos. I've located a clearing. Prepare for landing. With a final jolt, they touched down, and Alara quickly signaled her team to disembark. The atmosphere outside was thick with smoke and the acrid smell of burning debris. The once vibrant colony was in ruins, its buildings reduced to twisted metal and ash. Desperate cries echoed around them, and the team quickly formed a perimeter, scanning for threats. Alara led the charge, adrenaline coursing through her veins as they moved toward a group of survivors huddled behind a shattered wall. But just as they reached the civilians, a loud roar filled the air. A Xelthar warrior, towering and armored, emerged from the smoke, its eyes glowing with malice. Take cover, Alara shouted, instinctively raising her weapon. The team scattered, taking positions behind debris. Rallan opened fire, his shots striking true, but the Xelthar soldier charged forward, unfazed by the assault. Alara's instincts kicked in. She darted forward, using the element of surprise to her advantage. In a swift motion, she tackled the alien to the ground, grappling for control of its weapon. With a burst of strength, she wrenched the weapon from its grasp and fired at close range, sending the creature collapsing in a heap. The sound of her own heart pounding in her ears almost drowned out the chaos surrounding them. But there was no time to celebrate. More Xelthar troops were converging on their position. Rylin shouted from a nearby vantage point, "We need to regroup. We can't hold them off for long." Alara glanced at the civilians, fear etched on their faces. She could not let them down. We need to find a secure extraction point. Get everyone to the southern edge of the colony. The team rallied, herded the frightened survivors, and pushed through the debris-strewn streets, exchanging fire with the advancing Xelthar. Each step felt like a fight against the tide, but Alara's determination fueled their progress. Just as they neared the extraction point, a deafening explosion sent them sprawling to the ground. Dust filled the air, blinding and disorienting. "Get up, we have to move," Alara shouted, helping a young mother to her feet. They stumbled forward, their path growing more treacherous as Xelthar reinforcements poured into the area. With renewed urgency, they reached the extraction zone, where their ship hovered, its landing ramp extended. Alara's heart raced as she ushered the last of the civilians aboard, her team covering their retreat. Just as she turned to board, a familiar face emerged from the chaos. Mira, the scientist, clutching a datapad. "I found something," Mira gasped, urgency in her voice. "The Xelthar are planning a full-scale assault on Earth. We need to warn the others." Realization struck Alara. Their fight was only beginning. With a final look back at the devastation they were leaving behind, she made her decision. "We'll save as many as we can and then return to fight back. Earth is counting on us." As the ship lifted off, the weight of their mission loomed heavily in the air, and Alara steeled herself for the battles yet to come. Back at the Martian base, the atmosphere buzzed with urgency and determination. The Earth Defense Alliance had transformed the abandoned research facility into a bustling hub of activity. Scientists and engineers worked tirelessly alongside military personnel to analyze the intelligence they had gathered during the rescue mission at New Eden. Commander Alara Quinn stood at the center of the command room, watching her team mobilize for the challenges ahead. In a matter of days, the losses suffered at New Eden had ignited a fire within humanity, and hope thrummed through the air. But with that hope came a growing tension. Alara observed as differing factions emerged among her ranks, each advocating for a different approach to combat the looming Xelthar threat. Captain Rylan Torres, still fueled by adrenaline from their last engagement, pushed for an immediate counteroffensive, arguing that they had to strike while the Selthar were still reeling from their losses. "They think we're weak, that they can pick us off one by one," Rylan proclaimed, pacing the floor. "We can't let them regroup. We need to show them we're not afraid to fight." Dr. Mira Patel stood firm, her arms crossed as she shook her head. "Rushing into another engagement without a proper plan is reckless. We have to understand their tactics and technology first. We need time to prepare, to build our arsenal." Alara felt the pressure building in the room. She understood both perspectives, but she needed to unite her team. "I appreciate the passion on both sides," she said, raising her voice to command attention. "But we have to prioritize our resources. We'll focus on gathering intel and strengthening our defenses while preparing for the worst." Just as the meeting began to simmer down, an alarm blared, cutting through the tension. A holographic display illuminated the room, revealing a Selthar ship approaching the Martian base. The room fell silent, eyes wide with fear and confusion. Alara quickly made her way to the command console, figures flying over the controls as she accessed satellite feeds. "The Exelthar have tracked us," she announced, her voice steady. "They know we're here." Panic rippled through the room. Rylan quickly rallied his squad, barking orders to ready the defenses. Alara, however, took a deep breath, her mind racing with possibilities. They had no choice but to face the threat head-on. "Prepare for battle. We will not go down without a fight." As the Selthar ship descended, Alara's team scrambled to fortify their position. The base was a sprawling complex, but it had its vulnerabilities. They quickly set up barricades, arming themselves with whatever they could find: makeshift weapons, energy rifles, and improvised explosives. The hum of machinery filled the air as they prepared for the impending assault. When the Selthar finally landed, their soldiers poured out, a menacing wave of armored figures. The first blast of their energy weapons illuminated the Martian night sky, striking the base's outer defenses. Alara's heart raced as she organized her team into tactical positions, every instinct urging her to protect her people. Rylan led the charge, his voice echoing through the chaos. "Hold the line. Don't let them breach the perimeter." Alara moved alongside him, her resolve unyielding. They fought fiercely, the sound of gunfire and explosions ringing in their ears. Amidst the chaos, Alara caught sight of Mira, who was focused on a nearby terminal, feverishly analyzing Selthar communications. "Alara, I can decipher their signals. They're coordinating reinforcements." Alara's mind raced. This was the opportunity they needed. "If we can disrupt their communications, we can sow chaos in their ranks." Rylan overheard and nodded, his determination unwavering. "I'll take a team to plant explosives at their command unit. We need to act fast." As Rylan dashed off, Alara turned her attention back to the battle. The tide seemed to be turning, but the Selthar were relentless. Suddenly, a chilling realization washed over her. If they couldn't break the Selthar's resolve now, their chance to reclaim Earth would slip away. Alara spotted a group of civilians hiding behind a crumbling wall, fear etched on their faces. In that moment, she knew her fight was not just for survival, but for the very soul of humanity. "Stay low, we're coming to get you," she shouted, rushing toward them. As she reached the civilians, an explosion rocked the ground nearby, sending shockwaves through the air. With renewed determination, Alara gathered them close, ready to lead them to safety. The battle raged on around them, and she realized that every second counted, not just for her, but for the future of all humankind. The battle at the Martian base had been a hard-won victory, but the reprieve was short-lived. Just days after repelling the Selthar assault, Alara Quinn stood on the observation deck, staring at the swirling dust storms on the surface of Mars. The Alliance was gathering intelligence at an alarming rate. They had learned that the Selthar were regrouping, preparing for a full-scale invasion of Earth. It was only a matter of time before they struck again, and the weight of responsibility pressed heavily on Allura's shoulders. Around her, the mood in the command room shifted from hope to tension as the reports flooded in. Holographic displays showcased the grim realities of the Selthar's approach. Massive ships were now entering the inner solar system, their dark silhouettes blotting out the sun. Allura felt a cold chill in her spine. This was no longer a skirmish, it was a full-blown war for the survival of humanity. "We need to bolster Earth's defenses," Allura announced to her team, gathered around the holographic display. "If we can fortify key cities and deploy our forces strategically, we might stand a chance against their assault." Dr. Meera Patel stepped forward, her expression serious. "We've been analyzing the Selthar fleet movements, and it appears they plan to hit Earth's major population centers first: New York, Tokyo, and London. If we can redirect resources and strengthen these locations, we can potentially delay their advance." Ryland's eyes sparkled with excitement. "Let's send our forces to those cities, then. We can create a defensive network, pooling our resources across Earth, but we need to act fast." Before they could finalize their plans, the alert sirens wailed, slicing through the tension in the room. An urgent message flashed on the display. Zelthar ships were entering Earth's orbit. They were closer than anticipated, and the time for strategy was rapidly running out. Allura's heart raced as she snapped into action. "We have to warn the Earth forces immediately. Prepare the fleet for departure. We must get to Earth before the Selthar launch their attack." As the EDA ships readied for launch, Allura felt a surge of adrenaline. This was it, the moment they had been preparing for. As their ships soared into the void, Earth's blue and green sphere grew larger, a beautiful sight that belied the impending doom. Upon their arrival, Allura was struck by the chaos that enveloped the planet. Alerts blared everywhere, cities were in lockdown, and fear rippled through the streets. People fled in droves, while emergency broadcasts urged citizens to seek shelter. The Selthar were already deploying their ground troops, turning cities into war zones. Allura and her team quickly established a command center in a secure location. The sounds of sirens, gunfire, and explosions echoed in the distance, an ominous reminder of the battle that awaited them. As they activated their defenses, Mira's voice broke through the chaos. "I've intercepted Selthar communications. They're planning to deploy a powerful new weapon that can disable our defenses from orbit." The weight of the revelation hung heavily in the air. "We need to disrupt their command structure," Allura said, her voice steady. "If we can take out their communication arrays, we can buy ourselves time to organize a counteroffensive." Ryland nodded, a fierce determination in his eyes. "I'll lead a team to infiltrate their main base. We can sabotage their systems from within." With a plan in place, Allura turned her attention to the troops preparing for battle. The energy in the room was palpable. Soldiers and civilians alike were ready to fight for their home. Allura stepped onto a makeshift platform, her heart pounding in her chest. "Listen up. We are about to face the most formidable challenge humanity has ever encountered. The Selthar think they can take our planet, but they are gravely mistaken. We will stand together, and we will fight back." Cheers erupted from the gathered troops, igniting a fire within their hearts. They had come together from various backgrounds, united by a common cause. As night fell, the Selthar fleet loomed in the sky, ominous and unyielding. Allura knew that the next few hours would determine their fate. With resolve etched into her features, she led her team into the fray, prepared to do whatever it took to protect Earth and its people. The siege had begun, but humanity was ready to defy its oppressors. As dawn broke over the battered cities of Earth, the sky was painted in hues of red and orange, an ominous reflection of the chaos that loomed. Commander Allura Quinn stood at the front lines, her heart pounding with anticipation. The Zelthar ships hung in the atmosphere like dark clouds, their ominous presence casting a shadow over humanity's last stronghold. The ground shook with the roar of engines and the distant sound of explosions, a constant reminder of the impending onslaught. Ilara had gathered her remaining forces for one last push against the enemy. Around her, soldiers from every corner of Earth readied themselves, their faces a mix of determination and fear. They had endured so much, and this moment would define their struggle. The time for planning had ended. It was now or never. "We have intel that the Selthar are preparing to deploy their new weapon," Dr. Mira Patel reported, her voice steady despite the gravity of the situation. "If we can disable their command ship, we might disrupt their entire operation." Rylan Torres nodded, his eyes glinting with excitement. "Then we'll need to get to the heart of their fleet. I'll lead a team to breach their defenses and take out their communications array. We need to buy time for everyone else to mobilize." Ilara felt a surge of pride for her team. They had transformed from a ragtag group of fighters into a cohesive unit, ready to face the Selthar menace head-on. "We move at first light," she declared. "Remember, we are fighting for our families, our friends, and our future. This is our home, and we will not let it fall." As the sun dipped below the horizon, the call to battle echoed through the air. The Selthar began their assault, unleashing waves of soldiers onto the streets. Explosions rocked the ground as debris rained down, and panic swept through the city. But Ilara and her team held their ground, countering with every ounce of strength they possessed. Amidst the chaos, Ilara led her team toward the center of the enemy's command structure, dodging fire and rallying her troops. With every step, the Selthar forces fought fiercely, but the human spirit proved relentless. They advanced, determination fueling their every move. As they reached the entrance to the command ship, alarms blared, signaling their presence. The doors slid open, revealing a chaotic interior filled with alien technology. Rylan and his team took point, firing into the oncoming wave of Selthar soldiers. Ilara followed closely, her mind focused on their mission. Inside, the atmosphere was charged with tension. Mira worked swiftly, hacking into the Selthar systems, her fingers flying over the console. "I'm in," she exclaimed. "I can disrupt their communications and disable the weapon systems, but I'll need a few minutes." "Hold them off," Ilara shouted, determination igniting her voice. The team positioned themselves at strategic points, creating a defensive perimeter. The Selthar charged in, relentless and ferocious. Ilara felt the heat of the battle rise as they fought, each moment feeling like an eternity. Just as the tide seemed to turn against them, a massive explosion rocked the ship, sending a shockwave through the hull. The lights flickered and debris fell from the ceiling. "They're onto us," Rylan shouted, firing his weapon as the Selthar pressed forward. Mira's voice cut through the chaos. "I just need a little more time." Ilara knew they had to hold their ground. "Rylan, cover Mira," she yelled, rushing to the console. She could see the fear in Mira's eyes as the Selthar soldiers closed in. Ilara grabbed a nearby weapon and joined Rylan, unleashing a volley of fire into the advancing enemy. With a final burst of effort, Mira shouted, "Done. I've disabled their weapon systems." A cheer erupted among the team, but the battle was far from over. The Selthar commander, a towering figure clad in dark armor, stepped forward, his eyes gleaming with malice. "You think you can defeat us, humans?" he bellowed. "Your efforts are futile." Ilara stepped forward, her heart pounding. "We are not afraid. We will fight for our home." With renewed determination, they charged, pushing back against the Selthar forces. In that moment, they became more than individuals. They were a united front, a force of humanity standing against tyranny. As the last Selthar soldier fell, Ilara looked around at her team, her heart swelling with pride. They had faced insurmountable odds, and together they had emerged victorious. The fight for Earth was far from over, but they had shown the universe that humanity would not be silenced. Together, they stepped out of the command ship, the dawn breaking behind them, a new day filled with hope and resilience. They had defied their oppressors, and humanity's spirit would rise again, stronger than ever.